Welcome to Nerdopolitan one more time. We have a special guest today, Barbie Jean. She has a Sweet Release podcast, and her main slogan is "Be Sweet." Welcome, Barbie. How you doing?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm good. I'm grateful to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thank you for coming and for telling us about what you do, your specialty, Sweet Release, and Be Sweet. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Sweet Release actually is mostly about orgasming, like climaxes, like focusing on pleasure. So with my mission and my brand, I really try to normalize pleasure. I try to I really like everyone to embrace their kind of erotic authenticity and create this vulnerable space for people to feel comfortable in their core erotic desires and just really create this safe space for us to connect, because I think connection is so huge. And so, yeah, I really kind of focus on the diverse connections among individuals and partnerships. And so Sweet Release kind of stemmed from, sweet releases, which is just sweet orgasms, sweet climaxes. So that's kind of what I stemmed that from. And then Be Sweet, I focused not only on pleasure, but also, kind of self-discovery, self-love and growth and healing. And so and of course, just being sweet. So I just want everyone to be sweet to themselves, be sweet to their partners, be sweet to those organic and vulnerable conversations, and just really embrace being sweet and embracing your sweetness. So.
Well, that sounds very sweet.
Yes, sweet.
Why do you think, so for example, I don't even know where to start, because Sweet Release sounds like it's masturbation. What do you think masturbation has so much of taboo in society? Yeah,
and that's the main thing that I focus on too, is these taboo subjects that we're so fearful to talk about. So a lot of us, we grew up and we didn't talk about sex. We didn't talk about pleasure. We didn't talk about our feelings. There was a lot of that part of connection in our lives that we just didn't voice or talk to with our family. And so I really tried to make people feel more confident and comfortable in who they are, and having these conversations that people think are so taboo and uncomfortable. So yeah, masturbating is one of I am a firm believer in self-pleasure. And I think, I focus on exploring too. And I like, that's kind of one of my main points is, exploring and leading to, evolving. But yeah, there's so many things to learn about our bodies before we connect with a partner. And so by really connecting with yourself first, you're able to learn about your own body. And again, it's just connecting to your mind and your soul in a deeper way. And then being able to give that to your partner is just better. It's always better. So that's kind of what I also focus on is, providing that space for people to feel comfortable with, touching themselves. Because we all, when we were, I remember the first time I touched myself, I was so young, and I was like, damn, this feels good. But it's so weird still to communicate that. And it's just, it still feels a little uncomfortable, for a lot of people. So I think it's just important to, and again, embrace our bodies and embrace what feels good, to then learn and grow and just be better lovers.
Why do you think society puts a restriction or a taboo on these type of conversations? I don't know. I get that it could be awkward talking about this subject, especially with your parents. So you have to keep it secret, or you have to rub one out when nobody's home.
For sure. I think it's a lot of things. I think it's just kind of society, where we came from, religion. I think there's a lot of these kind of institutions that made it kind of that just made it feel wrong, And so I think growing up in, our generations or it was just a little bit more taboo, and it felt icky sometimes, because we were taught in health class. I remember in my health class, we were taught that like, abstinence is key. And so I just think there were a lot of lessons that were taught back then, and it's definitely changed and gotten a lot better. But I think just it's evolved a lot over the many decades since I've been around. But I do think that, there's these institutions that were in place that were making us feel like wrong for having sex and enjoying ourselves and experiencing pleasure. And then I also think like just, slut was such this term that was seen as so bad, and we've kind of taken it back and used it as more of this like embracing the term these last few years. But I do think like that also has a negative connotation to it as well. And I do think like sexuality in general still is such this taboo subject. So I think there's a lot to sexuality and sex that is still evolving and growing. But I do think that my work is helping, and a lot of people that I work with and in the sex positivity realm and worlds are really helping to, break these barriers and break these molds.
So besides like all the advancements culturally, because people, I do see a difference, like, like 40 years ago compared to that. Well, maybe in the 60s. In the 60s, there was like free love and all that stuff that was going on, like culture-wise, like a cultural revolution. But I feel like today, more than ever, people talk more about sex than before. Why do you think there's still these negative connotations? Or maybe it's just like historic baggage, like words like derogatory, like slut, and I don't know, like maybe like even the word... like there's a negative connotation when women explore their sexuality and when men explore it. Why do you think there's still that baggage?
Yeah.
Why does that still exist?
Yeah. Again, I think it's, it's kind of like baggage, like you're saying, like it's just kind of deeply ingrained in us. Like even sexuality, like I do think that a lot of us kind of have this, like, we kind of have this homophobia deeply rooted in us because of religion, because of just communication and just the way that we were brought up. And so I do think that there's a lot of judgmental people still in the world too. And so that's another reason why I really love saying be sweet, because even still, if I put out a reel on Instagram and it's talking about, a guy liking anal sex, or even just a straight guy liking anal pleasure with his heteronormative relationship, it gets so much heat and hate. And it's like, oh, that guy's gay, And so it's like, wait a second, like, be sweet, like, I understand that we all have these incredible erogenous zones on our body, and it's really wonderful to embrace that. And it doesn't have to do anything with your sexuality. So I think there is a lot of judgment still in the world, unfortunately, and even violence and sadness. And so I think that's why there's still some of this baggage that sticks with us, is because people are fearful too. I think people are scared and they're uneducated and they just don't know. So that's why I'm grateful to like give some wisdom to you and your listeners today about, we can talk about all the different types of orgasms, some of my tricks kind of to just have a better partnership and relationship, and really focus on that, like, focus on that sweet energy and that sensual side that I think a lot of people forget about.
So do you talk with like couples or just like individuals or both?
Yeah, so I actually do workshops as well as my podcast. So I host couples workshops or retreats, or I've done some single ones in the past, but mostly I'm focusing my workshops on couples. And so really it's just a space, depending on the workshop itself. I have a few different kinds, but really I like to bring like meditation and often like a writing exercise and kind of get people to really think about what they like. because we spend so much time working on, healing from past trauma with therapy and working out and working on our body and all of that. But a lot of people don't focus their energy on sex and playful energy and connection with themselves and their partners. And so my workshops really get you to like get in that mind and think about what you want, think about your desires and your fantasies, and kind of like put that on paper. And then I often do like just kind of a space where, whether it's, I've had some bondage ones where we work with shibari, which is this artistic form of tying rope on the body. So whether it's teaching them specific knots to, incorporate and learn about their body and learn ways to, make it again about connecting and really feeling their body, or, bringing out toys like floggers or hot wax even, or just some sensory things that you can explore with in the bedroom to ignite pleasure and make it better. Or even like edging, like that's a really common topic that a lot of people talk about, but a lot of people don't incorporate it in their everyday sexual relationship. So I also like to, educate on ways to edge. So if you're even like throughout the day, sexting your partner or sending a sweet message or telling them how sexy they are, that is just a great way to, build and, taking that time and building that connection throughout the day can then lead to like a more powerful orgasm at the end of the day. But also edging is about like reaching that peak, but not crossing it. So I just like to educate people and let them know like, hey, most women on average take 14 minutes during partnered sex to climax, whereas men on average take 5 minutes. So men need to learn to edge themselves if they want to please their partner. And so, getting to that peak and, relaxing is the biggest thing. The orgasms are this there's a lot of things going on. Your brain is releasing these chemicals and the nervous system is heightened and these muscle contractions are happening, but it's also really important to know that when you tighten your muscles, that can stimulate the orgasm. So by relaxing your body can really help you to hold that in. And so I like to just encourage people to practice in their solo pleasure moments to edge themselves, to then be better lovers. By edge yourself, you mean like the men holding it in a little bit more? Yeah. Have you ever tried that? Yeah. By myself. Yeah, it's good to do it by yourself first. Yeah. Practice. And I think it really is good, because I think there's so many relationships, unfortunately, that they're not, people aren't being pleased to their full capacity or to the magnitude that they wish that they were being pleased. And so by having these conversations with your partner, or by building up the slow build throughout the day, and then having that pleasure session later on, or, another thing I encourage too, if you're in the heat of the moment and you're starting to feel that climax, then just pause, stop, focus on another area of your partner's body. The nipples are an erogenous zone, or, ears, or, just focus on another area of them. And then that can, take that energy away from your sex organs and put that energy elsewhere. Again, to worship and give your partner love and make them feel appreciated, but then also lead to that slow build to then give them more time to get there. So you suggest, for example, when the man is about to climax, that pull back and try to think of something different. Yeah, think of something different. Focus on another area of your partner's body. Statistics? No. Focus on another sensory element of their body. Maybe kissing or blowing. If you're doing oral and, blowing on your partner, that's a great way that I like to be edged myself, is holding it in, because again, it's it can lead to a more powerful orgasm, but it's also just creating that build and creating that connection between you and your partner. And I know sometimes you need a quickie, we have such crazy lives and we're very busy people, but it's really important to take that time and really slow down and build that connection. And so that's why I encourage people to if you're about to get there, think about another part of their body, give another part of their body attention, but specifically like take deep, slow breaths and like relax your muscles and relax your body. And just focus like moving that energy out of like your groin area up into like your mind or your hands and like give it elsewhere.
Okay, instead of like baseball statistics, focus on the moment and move like to another part of the body.
Yeah, that's what I encourage. And it's tough. And that's why I think
it's tough because like you're, when the hormones kick in and everything, you're in a different mindset. You're like, you can't think straight. I feel sometimes that you're like not thinking straight. You're just like in the moment and feeling these pleasurable sensations.
And that's why I encourage like that's just creates mindfulness. And so the more that you're able to learn how to control your body and just like learn how to, control your orgasms, then the more mindfulness you're going to have, the more connection to yourself that you're going to have, and the more connection to your partner, because you're going to be, learning not just about yourself, but about your partner and how to please them. And I just think so many of us, we just, like you said, you're in the heat of the moment and you just let yourself go. And, women need a lot more time. So
Are women also kind of like taken by the heat of the moment, or do you feel like women can concentrate more on mindfulness?
I think we're all unique and different. So I definitely think that, some of us are more heat of the moment people. But I think it's also, it's fun to be in the heat of the moment, but it's also fun to like ignite all the senses. So I'm a very sensory person. So when I do these like couples workshops, I not only have like floggers and toys and different kind of vibrators and things to explore, but I also have like feathers. So it's like taking you back to those elements that, sometimes we've seen in some movies or things like that, where it can really ignite these senses on your body and really please you and kind of make you feel like, ooh, like this is like soft and delicate and feels really good. And so, to answer your question, I guess I do think that we're all really different, but I think normally women just need a little bit more time to get there. And so, that's why women also often can please women better, because we like know each other. And so it's just good to, talking about heteronormative relationships, it's just good to remind men to just take their time. Or
be willing for a second round and a third round.
Yes.
You have to be prepared for a second, third round. If you can't take your time, then at least be ready for round 10.
Yes. Cheers to that.
So do you encourage guys that, I don't know, like older guys that maybe can't get to round 10? Do you encourage that they use Viagra or stuff like that?
I don't encourage Viagra, but I do encourage, supplements. I have... there's a few different things. Ginseng is this like Peruvian root that is proven to boost your, like your sexual wellness and your erection. Maca is another, maca is the Peruvian root. But both of these are from the earth, and they're proven to help with erections and just like blood flow to that region. So I'm a more organic.
I just had a maca tea right now.
Oh, you did? Yeah, there we go.
But it had lion's mane. So
okay. So
see what happens.
There's a couple, of those like organic supplements that I encourage. But everyone has like a supplement, especially if you're in the adult film industry. I know people, they have something. So I definitely think like it's okay to have a supplement. But I do think like the base of, if you're ever having like an issue, I guess I don't want to call it an issue, but if you're ever having difficulty staying hard or lasting long, then I do think that the main thing is like to think about your mental health. Is there something in the relationship that you need to discuss? Is there something that's holding you back? Oftentimes when we're not performing our best, that means something else is going on, and it's usually in the mind. It could also be in the body. Like maybe you need to work out more, and maybe you need to eat healthier. Maybe you've had so much fried or fast food, and that's can also affect your stamina. And so those are kind of the base things that I definitely encourage when people come to me and say like, hey, I can't last more than a few pumps or whatever it is. Like, okay, well, think about these parts of your life. And then, think about your mental health and your well-being, and stress is so huge too. So if you were in a relationship and the sex was great and now all of a sudden it's not so great, there's definitely something different that's shifted. So it's just, again, connecting on those conversations can really help you like understand yourself and then hopefully be better in the bedroom.
So it's also like well-being, all around well-being.
Yeah, I think, having a healthy relationship with ourselves and our partners is all going to create this healthier relationship in our life. And so that's the biggest thing too, is like, if you have a good pleasure session with yourself and you have a good pleasure sessions with your partners, then you're going to all around have a more, pleasurable life in general. Like, I think they're all connected. And that's why when people, so many of us pay for therapy and pay for gym memberships and all of that, but we don't focus on our sexual life and our sexual wellness. And I think that's just something that's becoming more popular, but I do think that it's really important to remind ourselves of that and say, hey, like, I haven't let one out in like a week. Maybe I should do that, or, just give time to yourself. And because it is also, orgasms are stress releasing, or relieving, and they're, they can stimulate creativity, boost your mood, like so many things. I went through a phase where I was masturbating on my way to work because I was like getting to this club and I was like,
in traffic?
No, not traffic. Just
on the bicycle?
Not on the bike, in the car. But that was just a way for me to like relax. And like when I got to work, I was dealing with all these drunk people and drunk kids and chaos. And so it was like, when I got to work, I was like, I'm feeling zen. This is nice.
Yeah, you're feeling, okay, the world's good.
Yeah, like I can handle all the crazy now. So I think that's also important too. And when you have a partner that is feeling really stressed and overwhelmed with the work project or whatever it is, or they lost their job or I don't know, any stress, they're moving or whatever it is, like it's so nice when you as the partner or the lover can say like, hey, okay, well, do you want me to, eat you out real quick? Or do you want me to go down on you or, give you some love? Like that's just such a special treat too. So then like just focus on your partner's pleasure and not your own as well. Cause that's like the best gift too, especially when you're overwhelmed and feeling stressed, and we don't often ask for it, but when it's given to you, it's like, oh, what a gift.
So not to steer away too much from the kinky stuff, because it's really interesting, but you mentioned that you have like a therapy with couples where you do some writing. Mm-hmm. What does that imply? Like, do they write like erotic things that they want to happen, or do they just make like a list of what they want, or what implies the writing part? Yeah, good question. I think I'm actually a writer, and I've been writing a memoir for a long time, and really I've kept a journal my entire life. And so writing for me has always been this kind of therapeutic experience. And so it's also a good way for me to like understand my thoughts, to like put them on paper. And I feel like a lot of people are the same, like it comes out of your mind and now it's on paper, and now it's like, okay, I see it, like I can feel it now, and I can like understand it and comprehend it more. So I like to incorporate that into my workshops often. Not every time, but I think when it's a workshop where we're like exploring our intimate desires or exploring kinks or fetishes or whatever it is, when you're kind of like exploring your mind and your body, then I often like to do kind of a guided meditation followed by a writing exercise. So really the meditation is kind of the precursor to it, where it's like, okay, I kind of guide you through, this scenario and really allow you to really think about what you like. And then the writing exercise is often like, okay, what came up for you? What were the elements? What were the toys? What were, the genders of the people or person involved? Like what were you wearing? Kind of all of that, like really involving like the set and setting and all of that, and writing it out in kind of whatever way you want. I kind of encourage people to like
be creative. And if it's a poem, if it's just free writing, you know, prose, whatever, just do what feels right for you. And then usually with those workshops, it's really great to then share that with your partner, but sometimes we'll have like a circle discussion where you can share with the group as well. And it's just beautiful because you're not only like thinking maybe something you've never thought before, or, you know, I'm creating this vulnerable and you know, space with all these elements and stuff to make you feel like, oh, okay, I feel safe to like think about what I'm maybe not missing, but something that I crave or something that I want or something I want to try. And then like writing it out and then being able to share it. You're learning about your partner, you're learning about yourself, and ultimately just being able to like, now you're able to possibly facilitate this for yourself or your partner because it's like, it's coming to fruition. You're like, oh my God, I had no idea. Like I worked this, or I facilitated a couples retreat not long ago, and you know, it was a lot of married couples that had been together for a while. And, you know, they went through kids and they kind of, you know, all of them had great sex. But they were like thinking of ways to like spice up their sex or just kind of like reconnect after pregnancies and reconnect after their bodies changed and things like that. And so it was like really, it was just so rewarding to think of just like little things that maybe they wanted, or just thinking of, you know, I had one woman who was like thinking of a woman and she's never thought of that before. Like she's been with her husband for, you know, ever. And she's like, wow, I felt like, you know, maybe it was my sensual energy or just the space itself. But she was like, I really was like, I had this vision of me with a woman. And so it's just really beautiful to, even if it doesn't happen, even if, you know, boundaries come up in your relationship and you're unable to fulfill the fantasy, that's totally fine. But it's like understanding that we do all have these fantasies, and it's just really special to be able to communicate that, to be able to like envision it and fulfill it if you're willing.
Is there anything bizarre when people write, like maybe like a 20-page essay or?
No, I
like,
usually only give like 20 minutes or so keep it pretty quick.
So like it's a 1-page thing, and then okay, let's work on that.
Yeah, and then I usually finish it off with like a time to play. So, you know, after you really thought about all this and we've talked and we've discussed and learned about ourselves and each other, then it's like, okay, now let's play. Let's see how it feels. Let's just like explore with each other. And so that's when the magic happens too, is because now kind of the walls have dropped. You know, a lot of us are it's tough for us to, you know, break down and be vulnerable. And so once that happens, it's like, okay, now I feel like I can explore with you. Now I'm willing to like try something new. And that again, just builds brings the bond closer together for the partners. And again, that connection. So
for example, when you go on these retreats with the couples, or maybe like solo people, like also do you go on retreats with people by themselves or just couples?
Most of my workshops lately have just been couples. I definitely advertise that I'm available for like even like groups or special events like on my website. Like I just think it would be so fun, like if you had a girls' weekend and you were like, oh, let's have, you know, let's learn about ourselves, or let's learn about, you know, or maybe it was a bachelor weekend and they were like, all right, let's take the Barbie Jean's orgasm awareness, you know, workshop and just have fun with it and like learn about all the ways that you can like please your partner. So I definitely advertise like I'm available for special events. I'm available for groups. I'm available for couples, even just like single couples. If you're not uncomfortable with doing it in a group, I'm kind of just available to facilitate whatever you're interested in. But couples retreats and workshops has been kind of the most successful for me lately. So that's kind of where I've been focusing my energy. But yeah, singles, this was, I guess, it was like a year ago where I did an online one, and it was just singles. And it was more of like an educational thing. So yeah, I've definitely done them all, but I find that, I really do think that the connection to ourselves and our partners is so important. And so I do like to focus these workshops on, it's not just about your partnership, it is about yourself too, but like putting those then two together, it can be really beautiful and really transformative for the relationship. So, yeah.
So for example, when it's like more groups and they're singles, it's more educational, but if they're couples, do you engage in examples with them, or?
I definitely I don't
like how intimate do you get with couples? Do for example, you show examples, do they get playful? Do you show them or do you guide them in a sense?
Yeah, I guide them on ways to tie. If I'm doing a rope bondage workshop, I brought my partner though for that one, and he was my my model. But
he was your crash test dummy.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if someone has a question, how do you flick the flogger in the right way, then I'll definitely help them and guide them. But no, there's no intimate, there's nothing super intimate happening. It's all educational, and it's all, of course I have this vulnerable space. I want everyone to feel sexy and really good and connected to each other. But it's about their connections. It's about themselves. But yeah, I'm definitely there guiding and helping them along the way as well.
Interesting.
Is that something you would ever do with a partner?
I could, I'm open-minded for that. Right now I'm single, so I'll probably take one of your single courses.
Yeah, I had a friend
online.
I had a friend told me this great idea recently. He was like, you should do a dating where it's just a bunch of singles. You should do a workshop where it's a bunch of singles, but it's a dating, kind of a speed dating thing, where you have to, but you learn about each other along the way. And I was like, I'm going to have to figure out how I could do that. But I thought that was a fun idea.
Yeah, maybe you flag someone the wrong way. Oh, okay, yeah, we're not meant to flag each other.
Yeah, it's tough though, because I feel I think when you explore kinks and new things in the bedroom, whatever it is, I do think that it's important to have that foundation and have that trust. And so I don't know how it would actually really work. But maybe there's some elements that I could keep that would be fun to meet people in that space. Yeah, we'll see. But I thought that was a fun idea.
tutorials but it sounds interesting. I would probably take a course later on in the future.
Well, I'll send them your way.
Let's see. I have to get in shape first, and then drink lots of maca tea. And
Yes, yes.
Well, okay. So I have so many questions, but how do you get into this line of work?
Good question. Yeah. So I felt like I've always been a pretty sexual person. Definitely. I lost my virginity pretty young, but I think not young than most nowadays are losing theirs at 13. I'm oh my God. But yeah, so I felt pretty sexual from a young age and very explorative from a young age. I remember the first love of my life, we tried vibrating cock rings, and it was definitely I was very open with my partners about exploring and trying new things, as well as my community of women, my girl crew and my friends, my sister. And so I felt in my mom even. And so I felt very comfortable expressing what I liked and what I didn't like, and having those conversations with my core community. But then, I went to college and that was crazy. And I was definitely exploring and having a lot of sex and partying, as you do in college. But then after college, I moved to Australia, and that's where I kind of started going to BDSM clubs, and my friend was dating this dom, and she was and I was whoa, what is this? I had no idea. I kind of knew because I had read 50 Shades, and I was super into those books. And this was kind of around the same time. And so I was interested in this idea of power play dynamics. And so I really just kind of started being more intrigued and started just experiencing more of that in the bedroom, or asking, I remember the first time I asked for someone to slap me across the face or spank me, just a little bit more rough play. And then I went home with a woman. I moved to New Zealand and went home with a woman for the first time. And that was just like such an eye-opening experience for me. I was like, holy shit, like I've been so obsessed with dick and men and just pleasure for so long. And now I experienced a woman for the first time. And I'm like, holy shit, like this is amazing. I feel like I've just opened Pandora's box, you know? And so that was kind of, I guess I just felt like my exploration journey was just kind of opening. And then when I moved to LA, it just fucking blossomed. And I was introduced to some like, you know, some apps and some like more kinky ways to meet people like FetLife and Field and just kind of made my accounts and started meeting people in the lifestyle, in the swinger lifestyle, in the BDSM community, and just started going to dungeons and clubs here and going to sex parties and really just kind of exploring my sexuality and dating couples and just kind of diving in. And so that was like my journey. And so I was like, wow, like I feel so liberated. I feel like I've learned so much. There was also so many things that I like learned that were, you know, how to voice my boundaries, how to have these conversations, like what I wish, like things I wish I had known before, like exploring or doing these things, you know? And so I kind of was like, you know, thinking like, what do I want to do with my life? Like, what am I doing, Barbie? Like I've been bartending and serving and I'm making a great living. Like I'm able to support myself. I live on the beach, but I'm like tried to, you know, think about like what it is that I love. And I really find it easy. Like I had so many couples like come to me and like, Barbie, how do you do this? How do you open up your relationship? I was also had a lot of non-traditional, like open style relationships. And so I was already educating couples, friends of mine and people that I knew that were like coming to me, like asking my advice. And so I was like, whoa, like I'm already doing this. Maybe I should actually do this. And so, you know, I started coaching. I also do one-on-one coaching for people, just like kink and intimacy coaching, create like that space for people. But yeah, I started creating educational content on YouTube. And then obviously that blossomed into my podcast. And yeah, now I do the workshops and the coaching, but really it's just been this like, yeah, bringing what I've learned in my sexual journey to light to people. And it's vulnerable. Like it's kind of wild, like coming out and being comfortable with like sharing my experiences to the world. Because there are still a lot of people that find it so taboo and
there's also lots of conservative minds.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen like some videos on YouTube where there's like videos focused towards men where they say, you know, like the body count of a woman matters or that's important. What do you think about that? Like people that
I just think that's fucking silly. I don't know. I mean, everyone, again, like they have their preferences. Like some people are going to be size queens. Some people are going to, you know, like a certain body type. And maybe some people are going to say like, hey, if you fucked more than 50 people, like you're not my person. But I just think like, that's just silly. I don't know. I just disagree with it. I think I would encourage my kids to, I mean, I don't have kids, my future kids, but I would encourage my kids to like explore and try new things. And of course you have to talk about consent and safety and like communication, but like, it's really, I think it's so important. And I just think that my life, I wouldn't have learned as everything that I learned if I hadn't gone about it in the way that I did. And so I do think that like the more bodies you're willing to experience, the more you're going to learn about yourself, the more you're going to be able to connect with people. And I found like, you know, traveling and living abroad, that was a great way to like connect with people and learn about people's cultures. And like, yeah, I just think that's a really fun way for us that are like super adventurous and like to explore new places, is to also like be willing to like connect and have fun with people in an intimate way. But yeah, you know, we all have our boundaries, and I do always talk about boundaries. I think, you know, boundaries are often linked, you know, with freedom actually. So when you're able to understand your boundaries, you're really able to feel more free in yourself and your relationship. And so to the people that, you know, think a woman's body count matters, I guess I would just say, you know, maybe that's a boundary for you, but I think you're just kind of a little bit scared and projecting and maybe insecure. If your woman has had sex with a lot of men, maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Do you feel that maybe a woman that's very open with her sexuality and has had lots of relationships, do you feel she has to find a man that has been kind of in the same spirit of doing things, or can she connect with maybe a more conservative man, or do you think that's doomed to fail?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never thought about it. I do think it is kind of, well, you know, I've seen a lot of opposites attract, right? And I do see that there's a lot of successful relationships where they are polar opposites, and they kind of like have this really happy like medium where they meet in the middle, and it like makes a lot of sense. But I find in the relationships that I know that are successful in like the more non-traditional style relationships, you have to find someone that's kind of been there. So if you are a very, you know, sex positive, you know, fluid human being, then I would assume that maybe your partner and soulmate in life is going to be similar to you on that spectrum. But that's not to say that, you couldn't end up with a conservative person. I think again, like we're all so unique and different, but I do feel like we find like we connect on beautiful ways. And that's kind of what, I don't know, makes relationships so special, is when you find that space where you can connect. Like I've definitely dated people like across, you know, the board, and they've been very different. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think it's in that case, in that example, I think it's important to be sincere from the beginning, like what everybody's into. Like, okay, I like all these different types of experiences, all these different types of, you know, meeting different people and engaging in different activities. And you say that from the beginning, and, you know, the other person will accept it like that or not.
Yeah, I think in the beginning stages of dating, you should always say
always be sincere.
Yeah, always say what you want and what you're looking for, and yeah, you should never lead someone on and would not be honest with like what you're looking for. Especially, you know, I wouldn't say that I'm in an open relationship, but my partner and I definitely like to play. We like to have fun. We like to enjoy each other, and I'm bisexual, so I'm like, you know, I'd love to have some women here and there, but we definitely focused on our partnership initially and like built that foundation. And then, but from the beginning, I was like, hey, like I've been in a lot of open relationships. And this is what worked for me. This is what didn't work for me. Like, I'm definitely not a polyamorous person. I definitely don't want to be doing things separately. Like, I really want, like, I love you. I really feel like we're meant to be together. I want to experience life with you. That doesn't mean we can't have fun things on the side, but sexually for me, I was like, I really would love to just like explore sexually with you. And so that was like one of my boundaries, whereas some of my friends have open relationships where they do explore sexually separately. So yeah, that's like a good example too. It was like, if this is something that you want to, you know, emanate in your partnership, then you have to just like be conscious and aware, and things can change. And that's a part of relationships, is that things can shift. And unfortunately, if you don't like shift and change together, that can be sad. But, you know, it's kind of the nature of growing up and growing old, is that we do change, and our sexual preferences change, and like the ways that we like to receive pleasure changes. Like, I feel like even in my 4.5-year relationship now, like the way that I even like masturbate has changed, you know, like it just kind of evolves, and you get kind of stuck in one way, and then you're like, oh, this is a different thing that I've never tried. Maybe I should try it this way, or like your favorite positions or whatever. So I do think that it's important to like not only say like what you want and what your boundaries are and your limits and all that, but also like be comfortable with the evolution of it.
Right, because like sometimes I feel like, or I've seen samples of like women that they want to explore like sexuality, but they're afraid of telling the person that they're with, because they think they'll break up, and they probably, if they're conservative, they probably maybe will break up. But I think if you're sincere from the beginning and you know what you want, you should obviously say it, and because that'll. I feel like when people lie or hold things in, it'll become toxic later on. Definitely toxic later on.
Yeah, and it'll just like fester, and like you're gonna be like, oh my God, why didn't I say that in the beginning? Like you just avoid so much conflict and struggle if you are just honest up front. Right. And having those conversations sometimes sucks, and it is really difficult, but I think the more vulnerable and sweet you are and honest to like your authenticity, then you're going to find someone that loves you for that. And if they reject you for that, then they're just not your person. But I really think that the majority of people, when you tell them something that you want, or when you tell them something that bothers you, or when you talk about, getting jealous, or, you talk about your feelings in general, like we respond to that, like, especially if they love you, like they're going to respond, they're going to listen, it's going to create more conversation and more understanding. And that's what we want in life, really. So, yeah.
How have you dealt with jealousy, for example? Like, I imagine that at some point during your exploration, you have to have like some partners that turn jealous at some point.
Yeah. I remember jealousy is a good topic. I mean, I remember my college boyfriend was so jealous. And I mean, this was before my, kind of exploring my sexuality too much, but I just remember him always getting so angry at me for like talking to his friends, and he thought I was flirting with his friends. And I just realized after that relationship that I was like, dang, like I cannot be with a jealous person. Like that's just such a turn off to me. I know some people like are turned on by their partner feeling jealous in a way. I think jealousy is this like natural emotion, and I think it's really important to like accept it. But jealousy, yeah, I think it comes up for a lot of us. I definitely feel it. I think throughout open relationships or any style of, exploring with, unicorns or, sex parties or any sort of like playing in that realm, you have to recognize like when jealousy comes up for you. And the biggest thing that I think that like has just helped me with any kind of heavy emotion, whether it's anger or jealousy or, resentment or whatever it is, just frustrations or even like stress, some these emotions kind of come up on our body first. And so you can really learn how your body reacts to jealousy, for example, since that's what we're talking about. So for me, like I feel like this tightness in my stomach and this weight on my shoulders. And when you recognize like how it comes up on your body first, and then you're able to realize like, okay, that's what's happening. Because so many of us, when we get jealous, we just like act differently. We start like being rude. We start, just being dismissive, cold. Like there's these mannerisms that come up on our body when we have these like heavier emotions that are moving through us. And that's when we start doing things that we wish we didn't do, and then we'll like be regretting our decisions or starting fights or, starting arguments that are just unnecessary. And so when I'm coaching clients and couples, I'm like, jealousy it's a human emotion. Embrace it. Know that it's there. It will always be there, just like other emotions always may come up in certain moments. But when you really begin to recognize like when these like kind of heavier emotions come up on our body, I love to like breathe through them. So I just like close my eyes and I take a few deep breaths, or just kind of zone out and meditate for a couple minutes and focus on the pain that's happening. So like for me, the tightness in the stomach and the weight on my shoulders, and really just focus on that. And then after that minute or two, it just releases this pressure that I was feeling. And I'm like, oh, okay, I wasn't brushing my jealousy under the rug like we're taught to do. I wasn't not discussing it. I wasn't, allowing it to just like live in me and like forget about it. I was welcoming it. And that is like the first step. And I truly feel like that is just such a good tool for people dealing with any sort of, heavy emotion. But specifically when you're exploring and feeling these jealousy feelings, like just, doing that, but then, communicating about it, letting your partner know, because those are, they're lessons. It's like you're learning about yourself. And so maybe you need to set a boundary. Maybe you just need to tell your partner like, hey, when you do that, like I feel a little bit jealous. And giving your partner that awareness is going to be like, okay, well, now they can make a decision to probably not do that in the future. Or you can have a conversation and say, they can be like, you're right. Like, I didn't think about it that way. Or why does it make you jealous? Like, that doesn't make sense. I'm just talking to your friend or whatever it is. And then you can have this dialogue conversation. Like maybe it's triggering for them, or maybe it brings up something that happened to them in the past. So I think jealousy, although it is kind of this, big thing that a lot of people are scared of, I really think that it's super important to, again, just connect with your partner and learn about yourself more too in the process.
I feel like jealousy comes from like competition, like you're competing, but there's like diversity for everything, and you feel like you might felt left out with your partner somehow.
Yeah, it's a lot of fear of missing out.
It's a fear of losing also, like
right.
You've invested this time with this person and you feel like, I might lose this person because she's very attractive and people want to be with her or whatever.
Yeah, it comes from
like fear and also
fear and insecurities,
and competition sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. Definitely. Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people feel really jealous too, is because they're like, oh, yeah, you're scared of losing them, but it's also like this competitive nature. Like you want to be the top, you want to be number one. But yeah, like I said, I think when you can have these conversations and bring awareness to your jealousy, then you're able to understand like, okay, what is it? Like, do I feel like I'm missing out on something? Am I insecure about something about my relationship or myself? Or am I just super competitive and I want to be number one? Right.
So, for example, in Latin America, there's lots of passion crimes. I think it has to be cultural wise because, there's lots of Catholics.
Yeah.
And the culture also kind of like blocks people from engaging in open-mindedness towards sexuality. And I feel like people don't talk about it enough. And there's so many feminicides, like they're called feminicides in Spanish, feminicidios, where men, they just hurt the women, and usually they're like passion crimes.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that. So
so there's like so in Spanish there's feminicidios. They're like feminicides. They're like they started calling this in the feminist movement in Latin America because they're noticeably like homicides, but towards women by the men. So that's kind of like sadly trending in Latin America and Colombia also. So what do you recommend, like culture-wise? Do you recommend like a movement so people are more aware of, or do you think we have to shift culture-wise in this kind of, like the man and the woman relationship? How would you bring these homicides down towards women?
Wow. So they're like violent homicides against, is it stemming from like jealousy or something? Or
I think it's jealousy, but it's also because they're usually passion crimes, and they're usually like an ex-boyfriend or an ex-husband towards women.
Wow. Okay.
And I don't know if it's because each relationship is different, but I don't know if it's like the man's impossibility to like talk about these things or to accept them, like open relationships, because people change. They change all the time, and maybe you're in a relationship, and then the woman wants to explore more freely. It sometimes works the other way too. Like there's sometimes women shoot or kill their men, but it's mostly common the other way.
Yeah.
So that's like a tragedy, because towards women, it's really noticeable in the news. Like in the news, you think, oh, there's another murder. It was a
passion crime.
Yeah, the word in English has not applied. It's not trending, like feminicide, but in Spanish it's a thing, like feminicidio.
Okay. So it's a homicide against kind of the feminist, sex positive kind of.
Well, it's not
women.
always sex positive. It's maybe I feel like it's mostly some sort of jealousy. That's why I stemmed off that, because like some sort of jealousy, and then I feel like men in these cultures don't know how to deal with this or communicate or deal with like okay, like, the relationship's over, right? So to let go of a couple that wants to look for something else that they want.
Instead, they resort to violence.
The technical definition of it refers to a homicide done from a male to a female, and it's usually because of the fact that she's female, and it usually happens inside the home. So it's like it has to have like those parameters to be considered a feminicide.
Wow.
Okay. So that's like so he's putting us into context. Thank you, Carlos.
Yeah, thank you.
So I feel like they should talk more openly. Like I don't know, like there should be like TV shows in these countries where people like you openly talk about these things. But I feel like it's also a matter of letting go.
Totally.
If the relationship's not working, just let it go.
Yeah.
And then like look for something else. But I feel like people get too invested in this, and then they take it personally.
Yeah, they get angry. Yeah, I've always, I don't have a lot of experience in Central America, but I've always thought that Mexico was kind of this like, like you can go to a brothel, you can experience like sex work is legal. Yeah. So I always thought that it was kind of this space where you could explore and enjoy yourself. But the fact that, these men this is like trending or happening a lot it's really sad. But yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think it's really about letting go. I think it's about communicating. I think it's about knowing yourself and living with more, mindfulness and awareness. I think the reason people resort to violence is because they're unaware and they don't see themselves like getting past it too. And that's like what you're talking about, like just being able to like let go and move on.
Right.
And so that's so devastating that people aren't able to like move on, because there's so many, I don't believe that there's one soulmate for us. I do firmly believe that there's multiple soulmates, but I do think that like, it's really about picking someone that's like, you want for your life and really focusing on that human being and being able to compromise and work together through all of life's challenges. But the fact that like some people aren't able to, see that they have a future after this situation is just devastating, and to kill someone, destroy someone's life over it. It's just fucking harsh.
So it's a tragedy.
Yeah, it is a tragedy.
I also feel like it's like it's mostly the culture that they're in, because like I feel like the culture has so many double standards. So when there's double standards, people have to recur or they have to lie, and I feel that's what can't get people through their their turmoil in their head. Like the lies, they keep thinking about the lie part, or like the double standards, I think is what's key here for letting people go. Like, you have to understand that sometimes, there's double standards, and try to turn the page anyway. Right.
Yeah. And just be more accepting. Yeah. Like I just think that we need to accept reality sometimes, and it's difficult for some people to do that. But the truth is, like, it is what it is, and the only way you can move through it and get through it is by accepting it. yeah, I would be so curious to see like where some of these people are now, or maybe you're right, like it's a cultural thing. So maybe they're born out into this violent culture, with drugs or whatever it is. And so maybe that's just like, they're like, okay, I can just kill her and move on and not be put in prison for it. I'm not sure. Are these people getting caught?
Usually they get caught. Laws are different, but there's some crimes that are mystery. There's still a mystery.
Oh.
But for example, there was a big case in Colombia. She was an OnlyFans model, and she got into a conversation with a guy from the US, and the guy, he was American actually, and found this only models, and they started talking. He went to visit her. He invested some money to be with her, to like have a relationship, and the guy murdered her. And he wasn't even in that culture, but the guy, and it was a really gruesome murder. I don't want to get into details.
Yeah, don't give me details. It's sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. But then he got caught. He's in jail. But I feel like he was let down by an idea that she might just be with him. But if you kind of like see that she's an only model, you have to know what to expect, right? Like she's like really open sexually. So I don't know. That was like one of the.
No, that's crimes. A good example. Yeah, that's fucked up. I think, that's a bummer. I think having those conversations though, like, maybe he didn't understand like what he was getting himself into. Maybe he had expectations that she didn't meet. But that's just unfair to murder someone over that.
Yeah. I mean, you shouldn't murder anyone.
Yeah. In general.
Yeah. In general. Yeah.
But what an interesting conversation. I haven't heard about this. I feel like I live a little bit under a rock in LA.
In LA, it's a different vibe. Yeah, it's a different thing.
Everyone's very accepting. Everyone's very, and I don't really pay too close attention to the news very often. I'm trying to more now that the election's coming up. But that's good to be aware of, that these crimes are happening. I mean, of course, we see a lot of crime in the States, but that's wild that this femicide thing is a thing.
Let's change some subjects, because we're talking about like this dark stuff, and we're supposed to be sweet.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's like we're going like this sad and okay, but I think there's something there that in your line of work, like educating, that could actually help.
Yeah, I think empowering
or better the situation.
Totally.
Where it's not just towards women, but also towards men. Like to learn to let go, to learn to accept, to learn to talk about things, because usually men in this society, I feel that if you talk about your problems, you annoy people if you're a man. But if a woman talks about her problems and what she feels, everybody listens. It's like I feel like that might be like the gap between men and women in today's society. A man always has to be a problem solver and fix things, and just all right, this happened, but okay, keep going, keep doing. And if you talk about your problems, then you show you're weak, or it's a sign of weakness. While a woman talks about her problems, like a guy will help her fix the problems, or okay, understands, and let's do it this way or this way. So I feel like talking works for women, but not so much for men, and I think that should change also.
Yeah, I think it's definitely changing. And I think this idea of, kind of the masculine and feminine that people are talking about a lot of, I feel like men are embracing more of all of their feelings and kind of harnessing both powers of like masculine and feminine energy. And I think that's being embraced like more and more by women. I do think there's a balance to it. But I think you're right. Like, just like I was talking about, the taboo subjects of sex and sexuality, I think, men are taught to be like the caregivers and the supporters and all of that. And so it's kind of like, again, it's like breaking that stigma, breaking that mold, and learning that, like, you don't have to be that way. Women actually love vulnerability. They want to hear your struggles. They want to hear, your feelings. And so I think the more that we're willing to, like, again, as women, we're talking mostly about hetero relationships, but as women, accepting that too, like allowing your partner to feel and be sensitive, I think is important too, to then, move away from these struggles that relationships are having and the violence and all that.
Yeah. Well, that's like we can talk about that in future podcasts, like see how we can fix that situation with, these cultures where that happens very often. So tell us about your podcast. Let's go to that. Have you had any interesting listeners, or have you had any, I don't know, like kinky offers somehow?
Yeah, I get a lot of people that are, in the fetish and kink worlds that come to listen to my podcast, because not only do I ask every episode, like the last time you had that sweet release, but I also often ask my guests, like, if they have any kinks that they're open to sharing, or, what kind of desires and fantasies they like, and just to, again, normalize that conversation and make people feel comfortable and embracing their erotic truth. And so, yeah, I mean, I've had so many crazy questions and so many, wild thoughts and listeners. I often do like confessions where people can like send me their confessions, or ask me anything episodes where people can just ask me the crazy, wildest things. And I always try to figure out a way to, educate and empower in my responses, but I'm trying to think of a specific one. I never thought that there was like such thing as an armpit fetish until I started this podcast, and so many people are sending me like armpit fetish questions, and I'm
Really?
like, oh, interesting. I guess that's kind of like an erogenous zone, maybe. Like,
If you're ticklish.
yeah, right. So there's a ticklish fetish too. So I could imagine, those could be correlated. But
Tickling could be fun. I like tickling.
Yeah, tickling.
I don't like getting tickled though. That's weird. I like tickling, but not getting tickled.
So you'd like to be on the giving end, not the receiving.
And tickling when it comes to tickling.
Right, when it comes to tickling, yeah. What else do you like?
What else do I like? I don't know. I think I'm pretty straightforward, heterosexual. Let's see.
Do you feel like you've been good at pleasing your women in the past?
I think I have. Yeah. I mean,
good.
They can't all be good liars, right? I think they're all truthful when they, when the orgasm comes. Mm-hmm. So I think I have. Yeah.
That's good.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't feel like anybody's faked an orgasm, like in the when Harry met Sally, like the diner scene. That was a really good acting.
Yeah, faking is definitely a thing, but I definitely am trying to squash that too. I don't think anyone should be faking orgasms.
Well, we were talking about lying. Lying sucks. So
yeah,
you shouldn't fake orgasms. You should have like real
right,
ones,
you should be honest,
or like honest, and like always explore. Like, hey, let's do it this way. It's not working. Let's turn around or whatever.
Right, or you didn't quite get me there. Gotta go again. Yeah, round two, or do something different.
Let's take the whole weekend until we find a way to get to round 10.
Yeah, that's a good weekend activity.
That could be fun, yeah. All right, let's get to round 10. That's our goal is to get to round 10 or more. Let's see.
I did, for my 30th birthday, I asked for 30 orgasms in one day.
In one day?
Yeah, and we finished it before noon, actually. It was
really
crazy.
You could have gone to 60.
I know, maybe when I'm 60. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Wonder what I'll be like that age. But yeah, and then for my 31st birthday last year, I asked for 31 flogger, like slaps or flogs. So that was fun. So that's kind of a tradition I started at 30. I'm like, oh, okay. It's going to be this year.
Did you have more fun with the orgasms or with the floggings?
I think the orgasms were fun, but also like that was like intense, like I was like sweaty and like ready to be done, but also like, holy shit, that was amazing. I guess I'm blessed. I know not all women are built the way I'm built, but I am like, mine can like roll over and continue, and like I can easily have multiple, like I'm a multiple orgasmer. So it's pretty rare for me to just come once in like a pleasure session. Like when I'm with myself, I at least do like 3. So 30 is another story though. Like that's pretty intense, but it's fun to come up with these games for special occasions like birthdays, but also, like, even Valentine's Day, or even just after the kids go to bed or whatever it is. Like it's fun to just be playful. And that's a big part of my mission too, is just to like, let's be playful. Let's love each other. Let's have fun. Like that's a big part of life.
Is there a Guinness record for
my
most
God.
orgasms in a day?
Can you look it up? I don't know.
Let's look it up. Maybe,
Should I break it? That's
maybe
a good
you broke
idea.
it already. 30? That's a lot,
That's
right?
a lot. Yeah. I don't know.
What's the Guinness record for more female orgasms? And for more for male orgasms? Like
male would probably be a lot lower. I know some men often
Maybe
need a minute.
if they're porno stars, probably get like 10 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and I was seeing, I often film, or I often have guests that are in like the adult film industry. And so now I'm following a bunch of them. And there's someone that I had on recently who was taking this like supplement or something that makes his like loads bigger. And I was like, what? Oh my God, there's supplements for everything nowadays. I'm like, wow.
Is it true that if you eat watermelon, it comes out in the taste of the...
Oh gosh, I've heard that about pineapple too. I remember.
Pineapple? Yeah, is that
I
true?
remember when I was in high school that it was like, oh, it'll make your cum taste better. I think it's true that like maybe like asparagus isn't the best for like your pee can smell and cum can like taste a little bit weird.
Asparagus?
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah. But
So it's like asparagus
fruit
is like
often good because it's
asparagus
water.
is the equivalent of bad breath for your penis.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I have 2 different
Okay,
information here. One is most female orgasms recorded in 1 hour are 134.
Holy shit, 134 in 1 hour.
in 1 hour. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
that
a
was
record Guinness.
Center for Marital Studies. And then there was a case of a man who suffered from 100 orgasms per day, but it was involuntary.
It's a guy.
Yeah.
Holy shit! So he's probably depleted. He was like, it's involuntary.
It was like involuntary. Yeah. He couldn't do anything.
He couldn't do it. Just orgasm 100 times a day, every day.
Dang.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Like he can't, well,
It's
he should get into the porn industry. He could, at least make money off his.
The thing is, who knows? It was like hypersensitivity or. Who knows?
Do you have a microphone?
No.
You should come here and say those statistics.
I'm putting it on this camera mic.
Oh, you're talking to this camera mic? Okay, so we can put that
Right
in.
there.
Yeah, we
All right.
can hear.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, it's interesting statistic.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Are you ready for 200 to beat that record?
Maybe 101. I don't know if I'd go to 200.
You have to beat that record.
101 in an hour. Okay, so that's like, yeah, I probably could do it, but that's tough. Like you'd have to do. No, actually, that seems ludicrous. You'd have to do to a second or a minute. I mean,
Yeah, if it's an hour.
almost to a minute. My stomach's growling. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow, that's crazy. I don't know. What's the most that you've had in a day? Just a couple, maybe, or a few?
Just like I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a porn actor, so I probably had like 5.
Yeah, that's a good day.
I got time to like at least 15 minutes to reload.
Yeah. Reset.
Yeah.
That seems to be common with men. They might need a little reset.
A little reset, and then like relax. It also helps like the partner, if you like, okay, you're done, but then she wants more, so she helps like if she seduces you and kind of like it grows again, and then
Yeah.
you keep
Yeah.
you keep going.
It's good to be giving and
Yeah, if she
help out.
if she like like wants more and you're there, then it starts working, and and then you can go for another round.
yeah, it's a two-way street. I definitely think that we all should be more giving in our relationships.
Yeah, if you're done and she doesn't do anything, then okay, yeah, that's
like,
it.
okay.
But then if she wants more, then I could do more. Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, it's good to always ask after pleasure sessions too. I think it's important to be like, okay, like, are you good? How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Because in the past, when I've had, even just like one night stands or random hookups, it's like, dang, like really? I came all the way here and that was like less than a few minutes. I was
more time in traffic. I was more time in traffic than what you lasted.
Yeah, God, it's such a buzzkill. I've had so many of those. Grateful that I don't anymore. Kind of learned. I feel like the more that you know your body too, the more you can just like let people know like what you like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and those 15 minutes of like reloading, you can like do other stuff, and then I mean, from my experience, like if we do other stuff while I heat up again, then
it helps.
It helps, yeah.
Yeah, or like massage, or again, it's just like focusing on your partner, body worship, and
yeah. For example, for me, like one of my favorite things is like watching the woman have an orgasm, like her face. That gets me going again.
Yeah.
So it helps. Like, okay, I'm done, but we can do something with you, and then I'll get, I'm ready again. That helps me.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, that is really nice.
Exclusive for Nerdopolitan. I've never talked about this.
I know. I'm glad I'm getting stuff out of you. Yeah, no, I agree. Well, anytime you can like visibly either please your partner or watch them in pleasure is like, of course, a turn on. So, but yeah, the face is always my favorite thing to look at too.
Yeah, that's like my favorite thing. I don't know why that gets me.
Yeah, gets me going.
Yeah.
Cool.
Here's another statistic. It's so the record for most male orgasms in an hour is 16. So it's about like one every 3 or 4 minutes. And the one we talked about before is 134 for a woman. It's about 2 every minute.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot.
So there's like a big difference.
Well, again, that shows the discrepancy between men and women, or, vulva owners and penis owners. It's like, yeah, if you have a vulva, it's like a lot easier to continue and keep going. And that's why that build, I mean, it takes a lot longer to get there for women, but then once you're there, then sometimes women are able to like
they want to keep going and keep going.
And
yeah.
the waterfall has started, so keep it going.
Right.
And you want to keep it going because then the pleasure's better, and it's like, why not?
Knowing that, why do you feel like men are always ready for sex, but like women are more like reluctant and like hard to convince? I feel like like that's a dynamic, but maybe not so much today. Or what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I actually disagree. I think that women are very sexual human beings. I just think that we often don't feel like safe enough to express our sexual power. So I think that's why often we're seen as not as into it as men, whereas men are free to like be sexual. They're like high-fived when they're sexual and they get laid. I think with women, it's just like we haven't always been like rallied behind, our sexual power. So I think that's where that comes from.
And
but
that's changing, right?
I do. Yeah, it is changing. I do believe that. And, women, yeah, I feel like, even when I was growing up in high school, like I have this core group of women, we called ourselves the Fab Five, and we like talked about sex all the time, and we are very sexual people. And so I felt that it was, I don't know, from that young age, I always was like, wow, yeah, women, we are the divine, and we are fucking sexy, and we love playing, and we love sex. And so yeah, when I hear that, I do think that there are definitely, again, we're all different, but there are definitely women that do feel not as sexual, but there's also men that feel less sexual. But I find that when you're able to like welcome that femininity in your female like sexual power, then that's when it's like, oh yeah, like we're ravaging like lioness power. And that's just, yeah, it's really good.
What would a woman, or what would you need to feel safe to say you like a guy, or you like someone, but how would you feel safe to engage with that person? Like a man would say, okay, let's do it right away, right? But a female, you said, is more reluctant because she doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
What would make her feel safe?
creating a safe space is ultimately just like, I mean, giving them love, like making them feel appreciated. So whether that's like complimenting or telling them how beautiful they are, like really just creating this like beautiful, safe space for them to feel like they're loved. And maybe not love, like if it's just like a one night stand, but you want to feel appreciated. You want to feel sexy. So just giving off that energy. And then communicating, I think women feel safe when we're able to hear like what you're thinking and what you're into and what you're not into. And again, like having those conversations of boundaries and getting that consent, like that is what makes us feel really safe. So yeah, I definitely would say like focusing on the compliments and making your woman feel loved and sexy, but then also, having those conversations beforehand, not just like diving into it. But some women like to just dive in. Like we're all unique and different. But I think, yeah, by creating a safe space, that's what you got to do.
When you go on the retreats with the couples, that's a different thing, right? That's not like where do you go? Do you go like to Palm Springs somewhere? Or?
I wish I could do all of them somewhere. Yeah. I mean, I did one in Big Sur. Yeah, actually a couples retreat there. The other one I just had like in the marina down the street from me at a beautiful house. So yeah, I usually try to find beautiful locations and spaces for them just to kind of create that welcoming energy and like that safe space and curate the vibe.
Right.
Yeah, it's good.
So you like say, I use these candles. What recommendations would you use, or what do you?
Yeah, setting the scene. I do often have like candles and just like pillows and senses like fluffy blankets and just places like little nooks for when we do the writing, to like just kind of relax.
You should do a tutorial.
That's a good idea.
Where you do like you get these type of candles. I don't know, like put the rose petals like this in this shape or something like that. I don't know, like there should be something like that because so most guys, I'm sure there's some guys that pay are very detailed when they set up a romantic evening or a romantic setting, but most guys don't know anything about that.
Yeah, they don't
right?
know what to do. And it is all about the setting as well. And music. I love...
what type of music would you recommend for...
Well, again, like we all have different preferences, but like for my workshops, I like to do like kind of sexy, sultry, like kind of... Well, I go through different phases actually throughout, depending on the workshop or the part of the workshop. But I love like jazz. I like sexy jazz. I feel like jazz. It just like moves you in good ways, but also like kind of like deep, slow house sometimes can be really good.
What about like Barry White? Like what's the song?
Sing it. I don't know if I know who that is. It sounds familiar though.
Barry White, he was like from the 70s. He had like a deep voice. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, like that. Something like that. I mean, I also like female vocals. So I do have, I have some favorites on my playlists, and I've been trying to curate like an actual sexy playlist. But when I'm just like enjoying pleasure with my partners, sometimes we'll just put on like a chill house station. But I do think that, or like a sexy hip hop one, I feel like sometimes it's fun to like get down to like some good beats happening. I feel like it also helps you get in the mood and feel relaxed.
What do you think about these like recent songs? There's like hip hop artists, and they, like they have explicit lyrics about sex but also like I feel like those lyrics also like talk about like kind of like a materialistic type of life.
Yeah, sometimes it's objectifying. I think it depends on the lyric, but I do love talking about sex, creating art about sex. Like I love watching movies and TV shows that have a lot of sex in them. So if it's a song that has sex in it and is talking about sex, like usually I'm like, fuck yeah.
I recommend you watch Poor Things. Do you see that one?
I did. I watched it the other night.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that movie then.
Yeah, I did fall asleep at the end. So
All right. Yeah, because it did turn. Yeah, and it turned a little bit kind of slow towards the end.
Yeah.
But it's about Emma Stone's character. She's exploring. We can spoilers, so be careful. We're gonna do spoilers here. So she's
an incredible actor, by the way.
Yeah, she's
love
great.
her.
It was amazing. She really transformed to when she won the other Oscar into this character.
So she's dying, and she has like a baby in her belly in the womb.
Well, the thing is that towards the end, explain what happens.
Okay.
So spoilers.
Yeah, spoil it.
Emma Stone's, I forgot the name of her character. Do you remember the name?
I don't remember.
So Emma Stone's character in Poor Things starts off with her committing suicide, but she's pregnant.
Oh, right. Yeah, she jumps.
So this mad professor takes the baby's brain and puts it into the body of the mom. So it's like this woman that's growing with the curiosity, and it's very sexual because it's based on that, like her exploring her sexuality and her relationships during the movie.
Mm-hmm. I loved it.
It was interesting. Yeah, it was. So do you feel like it's like a metaphor of some sort, like of women's relationship with society? There's like some violence also.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I haven't thought too much about it. I did really find the cinematography to be beautifully done, and I liked how it started off like black and white and then moved to color too. So I felt like, excuse me, I felt like there was definitely a message that they were trying to portray. She's coming. It's like a coming of age tale.
It's coming of age, even though she's already an adult, but in her head she's still
right. And I think
a
lot of us are, well, not a lot of us, but some of us are like that too. We're not, we're not evolved enough. We're not educated enough. We're not like, learning and feeding our brain knowledge. And so I thought that was like kind of an interesting take too, like just a reminder to like, teach ourselves stuff and learn and grow. But yeah, I haven't really thought too much about kind of the metaphor, but I do think that it was just kind of like exploring your sexuality, welcoming it too. Like it was also like she was like touching herself, in one of the first stages.
That's how it started, yeah.
Yeah. And then he was like, "No, you can't do that. You have to do that in the privacy of,
Yeah. Because she was about to masturbate the other lady.
Right.
So that's not proper.
You should do this. It feels good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's good. It's like sex is natural and we should all be doing it. And so I think that was kind of one of the messages I loved about it too, is like, it's okay to want to explore yourself and really enjoy and embrace pleasure. Because that was what she was saying too, is she's like learning to talk or touch herself and explore with lovers is like, oh, like this feels good. Why not do it? Why not leave with this guy and go somewhere else? Like, why not?
And that's what she does. She's very impulsive in her decisions, but it's a way that towards the end, she's like really smart through her experience. So it's kind of like I think that could be the message. Like she commits like mistakes and stuff, but later learns through the experience. Like becomes very open-minded, but also very, how would you say, like in the moment, like she's very, very present. Like she knows, she becomes wise. She becomes wise because she knows, okay, this is what happens. This is how life goes.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of how my journey was too. I was very in the moment, impulsive, and kind of did what the fuck I wanted and didn't really think a lot of the way in my early years. But then I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe this isn't the proper way to do it. Or as the older I got, the more I was like, oh, I think I need more, or I learned that this worked, or this feels better. And so I do think, you kind of learn the wisdom that you need along the way. And then you're like, okay, how can I take these lessons and learn like about, again, my boundaries to then live a life of full freedom. So yeah, it was a good movie. I was bummed I fell asleep. I was pretty tired and I was like, dang, this movie's getting slow.
It did get a little bit slow towards the end.
So I'll have to rewatch the ending.
That's when the sex started dying down. I think that's what happened.
Maybe that's why. I was like, no more sex. This is boring. No, I actually had a listener recommend that movie to me. they were like, if you haven't seen it yet, it has a lot of sex. And I put it on and my partner was like, are you sure this movie has a lot of sex? I was like, yeah, just wait for it.
I think that's the the longest I've seen like Emma Stone naked in a movie, or that's like the first maybe nude scene, right?
Yeah, she was fully nude. I wonder, I've talked a little bit about, in film, and Gus, you're in the industry, how there's an intimacy coordinator.
Yeah.
And I learned that, oftentimes in nude scenes, like, it's like a fake vagina, or like there's like, they put
they have
stuff,
body doubles.
Right. And so I was wondering when they did show her full nude, like I was like, oh, is that her actual bush or is it a fake bush? I was curious about that.
You have to do the research.
I know. I never did.
Or maybe we can get Emma Stone to come to our podcast.
Oh my God, that would be the dream.
And we can ask her, was that your bush?
Who knows? Maybe she'll interview and someone else will ask her that.
Hopefully, whoever interviews Emma Stone, please ask her if that was her real bush.
Barbie wants to know. No, we both
I want to know too.
Yeah,
it's not just Barbie. I want
to. No, but she's fire. She's great. I've always been a big fan of her work. So that was cool to see. And she's so good at just like taking on unique roles. And I love that. I love it.
Yeah, that was
I'm glad that came up.
Interesting movie. Mm-hmm. What do you recommend like actors do, or as an exercise, so they prepare for a nude scene? What would you recommend? I don't know if you've directed actors in that sense or talked to them about that, but what would you recommend, like if an actor wants or needs to do a nude scene, a sex scene, how should they prepare? Because it has to be like professional, right? They maybe kiss for real, but like it's not porno, so they're not gonna have sex for real.
Yeah, I would definitely, it depends on, probably it's a professional relationship with the other person. So you might have to kind of be thinking about something else. So I would probably fantasize and start imagining, something that would really get you going. And then, focus that energy and that like excitement on your face and your body when you're experiencing the pleasure in the moment. But I don't know. I've always thought that it would be so cool to become an intimacy coordinator and be that person that like helps them feel comfortable and safe, but also like helps kind of like excite them and maybe get them in the mood, not like physically, but like facilitating that conversation and making them feel comfortable.
You have to remember that these actors, some of them are married and they have to like act with other people.
I know.
Maybe their spouses don't want them to be too excited about these scenes.
Well,
what should they do?
No, I think again, that's maybe just a little bit jealousy. Like I think if you are an actor and you're an artist, and your partner is too, then they're going to be so excited to see you like fully take on the role and embrace that scene.
And you have to find the truth in the scene. You have to make it seem like it's true.
Right. So they're probably thinking about their partner, I would think, or, joking with their co-star, like, maybe having a little fun with conversation ahead of time, okay, I'm thinking about my man, you think about your woman, let's do this. Like, I think being playful with it and just having conversations leading up to it can really help you like break that wall and be vulnerable. But gosh, these actors are so talented. Like I could never do what they do. I'm so in awe of sex scenes too, just because I find them to be, so believable sometimes. And you're like, wow. And then, when I see someone and I'm like, oh yeah, I know that they're married to so-and-so. And it's just it's so nice to be supported too for that kind of work and supported for nude roles. And I just think that's really important too, because it really creates this artistic element of certain films. And I just really love that. I am always like, send me shows and movies and things that have, that sex positive element to it. Because I love that about it.
Okay, well, Barbie, do you want to give any last advice before we start closing down our podcast? We already been talking for 93 minutes.
I know,
Can you believe it?
Say, it's been a while.
Yeah, like usually, time flies. Time flies
when you're having fun.
I thought it was less than 90 minutes. but we're not. We're to the 90-minute mark. It's an hour and a half. It's going to be a long podcast. It's going to be very interesting for people.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really, truly feel honored to be here. It's fun to nerd out about pleasure and intimacy and share my wisdom.
And there's so many things we left out that we have to do another podcast, I think.
Yeah, maybe I'll be on next time. But yeah, I guess I would just like to say be sweet to yourself, be sweet to your partner, and be sweet to everyone else out there. And check out my podcast, Sweet Release with Barbie Jean. And yeah, I would. And reach out to me directly, really.
Yeah. Where can they find you? Social media and stuff?
So Instagram is what I use mostly. So Sweet Release Podcast or my personal Barbie Jean XO. But I also have TikTok, Twitter /X, YouTube, Spotify, and all the audio hosting platforms. But it's just Sweet Release Podcast. So Sweet Release with Barbie Jean is kind of the thumbnail image, I guess. But yeah, thank you. I hope
we'll put the information here, below here.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Well, thanks so much for having me. This is great. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Barbie.
See you next time.
All right. Don't forget to subscribe. Add Barbie Jean on your social media so you can have more interesting advice. And subscribe to Nerdopolitan for more great interviews.